to kind of run through this. As you know, each month we try to pick a theme, that we've kind of identified just from talking to people in the county or Janet and I traveling around, that we can kind of hit and do a little bit of a training. So this month is focusing on capturing the moment. Last month we did kind of how to talk to your media, like an inside scoop of working with media, and we have all of these hanging on our AuthentiCiTY YouTube page. So we will share this later, and you can again share this with anybody in your committees that you think may need it. So little introduction. I think everybody in here knows all of us, but our team is growing, and we're working with period 3 on some of the website improvements too. So just so you have a face with an email address and a name is always a good thing. So let's talk about, your promotions. Is Ken still here? Okay, yes, Ken is still here. Good. Okay, so just some of the things you guys were talking about is like very timely. I love it. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about kind of the planning, because if you've worked with Janet and I at all, that's the first thing we're going to tell you is plan, 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 right? So when you're talking about kind of thinking about your upcoming promotion or a project that you're working on, like you're restoring a building or you're working on putting up a monument or, all of those things. It doesn't have to be just like an event with balloons and music and all of that. Any of your promotions, you can kind of follow the same process, and we want you to document it the same way. But those planning tools are all in here. Remember these things way back in the day? If you haven't seen this and you're new to your committee, grab one of the old timers and get it, or reach out to us and we'll get it for you, because it's got a lot of good, just kind of basic information. But in the back of it is your work plan documents. Yeah, it's not going to do that. It's not going to share it. But that work plan kind of schedules out all of your time, all of your budget, everything step by step by step. So when you're talking about documenting your event, having photography, having somebody come and do video, whether it's you or whether you're hiring it out, make sure you include it in a plan. Because you have to be really intentional about this, or you don't know what you're going to get in the product. So just like everything else, budget for time and budget for expenses if you need to. The next thing I want to talk about is building up the excitement. A lot of times we have counties that will send us things after the fact, like these great group pictures or photos of their event, and we share it and everybody's like, oh, that looked so cool, I wish we could have gone. And so we're getting these wonderful photos of after the event, but what people really want to see is they want to see the setup of it. And I'm trying to share that video or the post that Ashley did of, let me see if I can switch my screen really quickly. I don't think I can do it without it being a pain, but if you look at our social media, there's some photos leading up to Utah Springs with the guys like digging holes and putting it in the flags. And people are really interested in that. It gives it like some humanity to what's going on. And it also lets people know about the event ahead of time that may not have seen it, even though you posted it 500,000 times and sent them emails, right? If they see that post building up, they're going to be excited. Also, we want to document the process as it's happening. Remember, this is social media. We need to make sure we are social. People will connect with it. So take little videos of you and all your volunteers as you're working through this. There's, again, look on the SC250 social media. You'll see that Ashley puts together little reels of this process, as like when we were all in DC, we sent her the photos and you just put it together really easily. She's going to tell you how to do that next. And that's the stuff that people get really excited about, even more than the after the event. So again, you need to plan for that though, and make sure that you're kind of saying, okay, we need to document this stuff as we go along. And then being really intentional. Ken, you talked about some events that you do every year after year after year, right? So this year, as you're doing your event, think about how you'd like to promote it for next year and make sure you get those shots. Create a shot list. Say, okay, we want to make sure we get this shot with the VIP. We want to make sure we have some kids. We want to make sure this is a really important piece of it. We want to do this. The more you can show pictures of a variety of different people, ages, ethnicities, people are going to see themselves in this work and they're going to feel part of it. So again, you really need to be intentional about that, be thinking about it, not just during the event, but before, and kind of have checklists and make sure you're doing it all. And then lastly, make sure you're assigning people to this. I know you all work with volunteers. We always work with volunteers and we say, hey, somebody grab pictures of this. Yep, I'll get pictures. And then after the fact, you're like, did anybody get good pictures? No, I was busy, or, something came up. So make sure you have somebody who is tasked with doing the photography or the videography, and that they have that shot list and they know what they're supposed to get, right? Because we all see things differently. We all have a different view of these events. So make sure that that is kind of written down. So of course you can hire out professionals to do your photography and your videography and to get content for you. And we encourage you to do so, but kind of thinking about, should I hire somebody or should I not? The answer is yes. And yes, if you can find somebody where you are, a lot of us are in rural places and it's hard to find somebody of quality, right? If you've got it in your budget, if time allows, sometimes these things happen pretty quickly and you don't have time to, grab a professional. But the same rules are going to apply that we talked about in the last slide. If you hire somebody, you're still going to want to set that shot list. You're going to want to plan for the time that's allotted, because hiring somebody to do something, as you know, takes time, right? It's not just, oh, I hired a photographer, we're done. We have to work with them. We have to get them involved. There's a lot of time in there. Make sure you're budgeting for that and that you have the time to really engage them, because that's how you're going to get your money's worth, right? Don't be afraid to ask them lots of questions. Sure, you're hiring a professional, but you are the client and this is what you want. So make sure you get everything kind of worked out in advance, not the day of. Talk about the deliverables and when you get them. Sometimes photographers are going to want to get paid before they send you your stuff. And so then you're waiting 2 or 3 weeks and you don't have any photos of your great event. So make sure you have all of that worked out ahead of time. Talk about, how long they're going to be there. Are they going to have assistance? If it's a larger event, what kind of permitting, if they're using drones, that kind of stuff. Make sure that they're set up to do that. And then the last piece is just about teamwork. If you're hiring anybody to do anything to help with your organization, really bring them into your team and take that time to involve them. Share your map plan, share your idea and your vision, not just what you want them to do, but why. Here's what we're trying to do. These people are artists, they're creative, they're going to have really cool ways to get you where you need to be. But a lot of times we forget to tell them. So they're off shooting something in their own mind is wonderful. And we never told them that, hey, the whole point of this is for us to, blah, blah, blah. Does that make sense? What we're talking about? So just kind of like, basically it's planning and including the why in the what. And then back to the yes, and the and piece is, even if you do hire somebody, you still need to plan to shoot your own content, because that's where the human stuff comes in, right? These people know you. We're all a small community. We want to see all of the behind the scenes stuff. That's the fun things for social. And Ashley's going to talk about some great tips for all of that. And if you've got question everything, put them in the chat. And then Diana, you can interrupt kind of as we go if it's super, kind of important. Otherwise, we'll wait till the end. All right, Ashley.
Okay, so I wrote these out just in case we were tight on time, but I just wanted to give you some quick tips for shooting video and shooting pictures when you're at your events. These are pretty straightforward. Hold your camera vertical for videos, for Instagram Reels and pictures, horizontal for Facebook pictures and videos. This is something that I think a lot of people forget to do. Leave some space for cropping, especially if you're only having time to shoot one way. So I would suggest if you do that, shoot long ways, so up and down vertical, and leave some space on the sides. So this way, if you need to convert it into a Facebook post, it's easier to do so. You can crop it down like this. It'll square off pretty nicely. And the same thing for an Instagram post versus an Instagram reel. If you're outdoors, I can't tell you how many times people will take, I have a light on my computer. People will take this light and put it behind people so their eyes are not, and then boom, look, you can't even see my face. Make those people stare into the sunlight. Make them do it for a few minutes. They'll be all right, promise. But no, it's good if you have even just a quick little light like this. I'll show you what this is, and I can link this in the chat. It was like a $13 light from Amazon, and it clips right onto my iPhone. I use it all the time. I use it for my computer. I use it when I'm shooting video, when I'm taking pictures. Super helpful. It has different settings for indoor, outdoor, really functional. So if you can afford to invest in a little piece like that, I highly suggest it. But if not, always kind of angle their body so the light is coming on them, not behind them. Look for people and action. So you want to do demonstrations. You want to see people interacting with the demonstrators, interacting with the artifacts that are out there, talking to people. It's so wonderful to get children involved with this. And this is on my later slides, but just something to keep in mind when you are shooting children, always, 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 and I can't stress this enough, I'll stress it again, ask for permission to shoot video and pictures of them. You want to make sure that their parents and guardians know exactly what you're doing with those photos. That's just the reality of it. They want to make sure that they're, you're not using them inappropriately. But if you tell them you're going to put them on the Facebook site publicly or, use them for promotional stuff for your organization, most times parents and guardians are going to say, of course, we'd love it. And then iPhone users, I think most people are using iPhones these days. If you're not, just disregard this part. Portrait mode is a great way to kind of get your pictures to pop. I always like to use that in still photography. If you don't have portrait mode, but you have a live option on your phone, that's also a really great way to capture video and pictures at the same time. What live pictures do is they capture like 3 to 5 second clips. So you can actually use those later on in a reel as a little piece of video if you don't turn the loop off, which is probably a whole nother course that we should go through. But it's a quick little feature that you can use or not use when you're creating a reel. Okay, we'll move to the next one because I know we're tight on time. Okay, so the rule of thirds. Libby, I see you have an older version of this one where my pictures are not in there. So
I'm sorry. Yeah.
that's okay. That's okay. I'll pull it up really fast so you can see it. Can I just share my screen if that's okay for a moment?
Yes.
And then we can jump back to
you.
you. I don't know. Let me see. And I apologize, everyone. I'm fighting a bad cold. So that's why my voice is a little funky today. Okay.
You should be good.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna share this real fast. Let me know if you can't see it. Can everyone see this? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a really basic way to get some really nice shots. And a couple of good examples here. So this one's just basic, right? It's a football. But look how nice this background looked. It's blurred out. They used portrait mode. They shot on the rule of thirds. So they framed it up where the object or the subject was going to be on one of those intersections on the grid. And what's so cool about iPhones now is you can actually go into your settings right from your phone, settings, camera app, when you go into the settings, and then you scroll all the way down and you can toggle on the grid. So if you want to practice kind of shooting those cool pictures where you're framing someone up on one of these intersections, that's a really cool way to do it. And this is a great example that Diana, I shot this picture. She gave me a lot of cropping room so I could crop it in. She left a lot of space above their heads so I could crop it down and I could use it vertical or horizontal. And she shot them on the rule of thirds. So the people's faces were kind of in that upper quadrant, or not quadrant, whatever it is, if it's thirds, on that upper third of the video or of the screen. So they could kind of land on that intersection, which is really nice. Okay, and I can finish up from here if that's okay with you, Libby.
Sure.
Unless you want to jump back into yours.
No, that's good. As long as can everybody see, because I can't see it on my end, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, and I talked about this just a few minutes ago. Just always making sure that when there are children at your event, it's so fun to shoot videos of them interacting. Make sure you're asking whichever adult they're with if it's okay if we share them for social media, for, newsletters, things like that. Most times people are going to say yes, but I always appreciate that as a mom too, when people come up to me if they see my kids doing something cute, like, oh, can I take their picture for, our fall festival packet? Sure, but just always ask. And again, a lot of times people will be really cool about it. For videos, asking questions. I think it's such a good idea when you are shooting an event, whether you're going to shoot for a reel or you're going to shoot vertical or a horizontal, excuse me, for a Facebook video. Really good idea and good habit to get into asking 2 or 3 similar questions to people over and over again. Tell us what you're walking away with after being on the battlefield today. What's one thing that sticks out to you, and what was the most memorable part of today? One of the reasons I say that is because it's really fun to go back and then edit all these responses back into a quick little video of, and maybe the caption is, we asked people what their favorite part of, the Battle of Utah Springs commemoration was. And it's like, boom, 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 boom. You get all this great sound of people just talking about these memories that they made at your event. So maybe just come up with a central question or two or theme that you want to kind of ask everyone. And then, of course, let the interview lead you. If you feel like there's more that you want to get out of this person, they're really chatty and they're going off about their familial ties. I mean, just let them talk. That's like gold. But if you only have a few minutes, of course, because you want to get a lot of people, I say just stick to those 2 to 3 central questions so you have that content to use over and over again in different ways. And again, just avoid yes, no questions. They just don't really do anything for you. People say, yeah, it's great, and then move on, and it'll be like pulling teeth, and it's not fun. So, all right. And then how to write your captions and content type. So this is something I get asked a lot. And what I'm really trying to do, and I've been working to try to capture the tone more of SC250. Who are we? What is our organization? And what do people want to know? And I've been really keeping a close eye on what other people are saying in the comments, what you're responding to. And you and everybody who follows SC250 and all our new followers, they just love to see real people. And I think Diane and I kind of honed in on this in our last call. Just anytime you can get that excited kid or that person who connected to this spot because their ancestor was a part of this, battle or whatever the case is, it's just so cool to see that. And anytime you can take people to the day versus just saying, we had a great commemoration on a breezy day on John's Island. We stood up and watched as the flag that flew for the first time in this exact spot 250 years ago flew once again. We could feel what those soldiers felt. They had courage, they had fear running through their veins. We felt like we were there. Talking about it like that versus just, it was a great day. That's what people are connecting to, and they love it. And I think if you can just kind of train yourself a little bit to think outside the box a little bit more, give them the sights and the sounds. The Sweet Potato Festival, oh my goodness, like talk about how the food tasted, talk about the drinks that you enjoyed, what paired well with the sweet potatoes, things like that. And I think one habit we all kind of fall into at times, and even myself, we like to recycle things the same way through Instagram and Facebook. They're 2 totally different platforms, even though they're all part of Meta. Facebook is much more of a longer form storytelling platform. Instagram is quick, digestible snippets because you're scrolling through a feed. People are not going to stop and read a 4-paragraph caption on Instagram. They will on Facebook. So I think if you can kind of take your Facebook caption and condense it down for Instagram, and that's where like captions for pictures and reels really come in handy, like on the actual picture. I've done that a couple times. It's really, really beneficial because that'll get people to stop more. And I can tell right away the difference when a post is going well on Instagram versus when I change up what I write for each one. Sometimes I like to keep it the same to kind of trial and error it. And because, there's only so many ways you can cut things down, and I want to put more information in for people on Instagram in case they don't make it over to Facebook. But for the most part, you'll probably start noticing if you follow us, I try to trim down what we're saying on Instagram, that shortened version, and kind of leaving the long storytelling for Facebook, because that's where people are going to scroll through the pictures, to take a moment to pause. You also have to think about the age bracket, right? A lot of times on Instagram, our audiences are like 30 to 40-year-old people, 20 to 25 people year olds, like 20 to 40, I guess would be a fair age range. You're looking at people who don't have as much time to sit and scroll. Facebook tends to be a little bit of an older crowd now. More older millennials, you've got more retirees. I mean, my mom, I can't even tell you how much time she spends on there, and she's in her 70s. She loves to sit and read the posts. So I think it's just think about your audience in that way as well. And then real quickly, I'll dive into stories versus reels versus photos. Stories, these are so fun and you can do so much with this. And Libby talked about just like thinking about the behind the scenes moments. So for us, for instance, this weekend at Clemson, Diana and I are going down there on Friday to film the activation and talk with people and get out there. And we've got like, I've got a list already of all the things I want to show behind the scenes. I'm going to be snapping pictures left and right, vertical, that I'm going to throw up on my stories and show people like, this is us setting the cannon up for the musket, or, check out Rebecca Pickens, getting ready for her first chat or whatever is going on there. I got to get the lay of the land. That's the fun stuff that you want to show. And then in turn, if you've snapped that, showed it on your stories, you can then take all that content and turn it into a really fun, entertaining, educational reel that you can do post event. The sun was shining, orange was all over campus, but we splashed in the red, white, and blue on Friday and Saturday for our activation with SC250. Check out the highlights. Boom, perfect Instagram caption. I'm watching that video. I don't care what you said. I want to look at what I want to see what you saw. Then you go on Facebook and you have this beautiful carousel where you can give more details, caption it out. We had people of all ages come out. It was such a magical family weekend. It was such a great way to kind of talk about the roots that people are standing on, exactly where we are. Here we are. We have all these people here. And that's how you kind of bring it home that way. So there's just different ways to utilize those types of content, the stories, like the event coverage in real time, reels. The goal with that is to get people watching, to entertain them, give them something to aspire to, get them to follow you because, hey, your content's cool. We want to keep seeing what you're doing. Carousels, really great for event recaps, more storytelling. Those do phenomenal on both Instagram and Facebook, but primarily Facebook. I'm sorry I went through that so fast. So you'll have to watch the recording for more details. But I'm always available for questions. This is really the super high level view of everything. I could go on for ages, but I'm going to pause for any questions that popped up.
And Ashley is social at AuthentiCiTY Brand Strategies,
Yes.
just so you know. And she's also content at, which is where we talked last time about sending your images and that kind of stuff. She has two.
And
Jules,
also,
did anything come? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say too, like even Ken, I was listening to you talk about Georgetown. A great thing I thought about for you is if you had people taking pictures last year, that's a great way to even promote it tonight. If you have someone who can put together a quick carousel, these are highlights from last year. I saw a beautiful video. I just found it while I was listening to you talk about the events from 2024 where people were walking through the streets with flags. That was your event, correct? Is he still on
It
here?
could have it could have been yeah, and to your point though, this is a weakness of ours, right?
Sure.
I mean, we have plenty of people with their iPhones out taking pictures,
Right.
and the problem is trying to get content providing capability, and it's been difficult for us. It really has. We're still looking for some miracle to show up amongst our volunteer crew that will help us do that. I'm not the guy, and we do have somebody that does manage some content on Facebook along with me when we wind up doing it together. Uh, but
Right.
but that's why I was going to say if I can get a copy of this,
Yeah.
I've got a meeting this week with our general committee, and I'd like to get people inspired a little bit more to help out here, you know.
Well, and one thing I wanted to say too, and I didn't put this in here because I was running out of time. I just Collaborating with us is always a welcome option as well. It's so easy to do on Facebook. When you're putting your content out, there's an option now to tag or invite as a collaborator. And I mean, 9 times out of 10, when people invite us to collaborate, as long as I know it's something that we've been a part of or this is a partnership, I'm saying, yeah, of course, because that's how we build awareness for each other, right? We build
Yeah.
awareness about your organization and you build it about the big organization umbrella over it. So I think it's a partnership. And that's what we want to remember too. I mean, I'm always I'm always happy to share. I just shared something about Georgetown a few minutes ago, making sure people know it's Constitution Day and you've got an event planned tomorrow. So anytime you have
Oh, that's
things going on
amazing.
like that, yeah, just let me know.
She is really good at multitasking, Ken. I just have to say.
Yeah, I mean,
It's amazing.
this whole thing. I mean, it's like playing a musical instrument. I mean, you can talk and do the presentation and share things to the rest of the world at the same time. I mean,
I've got a 7 and 3-year-old. They keep me on my toes. If I couldn't multitask, we'd all be in trouble. So
uh,
but yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I would love to get more people involved and talk, like bringing the conversation to us, tag us and stuff. Whenever anyone tags us in something, as long as it's appropriate, of course, right? We have to use that lens as well. But as long as
yeah,
it's appropriate and it's something that we have either been a part of or it's been on our radar, I'm either sharing it to stories, I'm sharing it to our feed. So I love that, and I would love to see more people doing more of it. So at the very least, if you're just doing post-event coverage and you've got these great pictures, I'm just going to share them. Just invite us to be a collaborator on them. We would love that.